almost 20 million high-paying jobs has now resulted in 6 million jobs lost and 42,000 factories closed over the past decade. 42,000 factories. You know, I have traveled throughout Ohio. Many of those factories are here. We're living through hard times. We've learned the hard way about failed models. We've learned that too big to fail means socializing losses and privatizing profits. And we've learned that disindustrialization and disintermediation are not natural, creative destruction outcomes. They are not what the economists like to say, natural outcomes of a competitive economy. We've learned they're entirely man-made. They're creative only for those who profit, and they're destructive for those who are fired, abandoned, foreclosed, and outsourced. So there is a new model that is totally American, that is totally based on ownership, that is totally self-reliant and productive and efficient, that makes the people involved as proud can be. And that is the mission of what this conference stands for, and the mission we're going to be talking about today, and why Mondragon for the past 55 years has been successful. Don't get me wrong. There's a saying in Mondragon that says, "This is not paradise and we are not angels." We are the most media assaulted group in the world. Everybody wants to come film us, talk to us. We turned down the Michael Moore request for Capitalism, a Love Affair. We have one person doing PR for the entire group. We're just not PR focused. Why should we be? We don't need it. Our mission, our message speaks for itself. The jobs that we've created, the fact that every cooperative agrees to put 18% of its profits into those values that I listed, those 10 values, that is walking the talk. When we have a crisis, because the global recession hits Spain like any other location, I mean, in Spain, you're talking almost 5 to 6 million people unemployed, which is, you know, out of a country of 40 million, you do the math. I mean, you're above 20%. In Mondragon, everybody voted about reducing their salary. They voted to share the pain. They had solidarity, democratic capitalism. It totally works. Compare that to the maquiladoros that we know about after NAFTA, which sprung up on the other side of the border. These people were efficient. They were productive. Those factories were brand new. They turned out goods. But, you know, there's always the next strongest person. There's always the next fastest runner. There's always the next cheaper labor force. So when someone somewhere decided, well, those maquiladoros, we can save a couple of cents off of those dollars, let's disintermediate them and send it somewhere else, those people had no equity in their enterprise. They had no stake, no roots. They were here today, they were gone tomorrow. The factories were productive one day, they were empty the next. I know this sounds familiar. And this has got to stop. Because if you just do the math, and remember, Mondragon, as I said, I started off with, it's the farthest thing from a commune. I mean, you want to talk about hard-nosed, metrics-based capitalism, try watching two cooperatives do business with each other. You know, it's their money, there's no thrills, there's no perks, there's no anything. There's just bottom line, low overhead, survival, just like you handle your own bank accounts. So when those people in Mexico woke up the next day and found that they had no employment, what was their recourse? It was nothing. When we talk about the lowest marginal cost of labor, we hear today that even China is getting to be too expensive. Now we're going to find some other economy and people to exploit. Is it going to be Africa? How about the penguins in Antarctica? I mean, why don't we see what's out there in outer space? I mean, this model goes to the reducto absurdum. Instead of reversing it, multiplying by -1 and cycling it back up. Why can't we focus on how much we can pay our people? Why can't we use equity as a partial substitution for sustaining community and family wages? And why can't we do the most important thing in our portfolio, which is buy time? All of us in our different trades and professions, we try to keep up with what's new and what's exciting. We read magazines, we answer billions of emails, we go to conferences, we keep up with our industries. We have to do that to be competitive. When something happens that's new, that we know we have to reach to get, do we want to stop and think, well, if I don't have it, it's going to be outsourced to somewhere else? I need time. I need time to figure out how to organize my life. I told my daughter, she's in New York, I said, listen, they're going to come at you with a lot of things, but when they come at you for your hourly rate, just remember that time is the most precious thing we have. Sell that hourly rate for everything that you can, because that's the most expensive, precious commodity that we always try to push down to the bottom of the scale. And it's a crime against all of us. The way you get away from the slavery of hourly rate is through equity. Equity, the American concept of ownership. I'm going to talk to you about a Made in America model and something that I participated in. I'm going to also talk about the steelworker-Mondragon relationship, because I was just part of that. It was led by Leo Gerard of the Steelworkers, a man that I'd be proud to carry his briefcase anywhere if he ever had a briefcase, and Josu Ugarte, the president of Mondragon. But I want to talk to you about a company called SAIC. I was in SAIC from 1988 to 1994, 6 years. And it was started by a very visionary guy, Dr. Robert J. Beister. And he hired me on Labor Day, very, very symbolic. We negotiated. I came in, I think I came in as an experiment. Hopefully I didn't leave that way. But in 1973, SAIC, which then was a very little company, they created an entity called Bull Inc., which was their wholly owned broker-dealer subsidiary. And they built a limited market in the company's stocks for employees, and they facilitated the stock from employees who desired to sell SAIC stock to other employees for buyers. And to keep the stock inside the company, in the hand of current employees, and maintain the employee ownership culture, SAIC had a right of repurchase for everyone who left. And in 1981, that was incorporated in its charter. And I want to now grab this thing and show you the model, because it's a great model. And I'll come back to some of these other slides later. Excuse me. There's the SAIC model. There's an organization that OEOC is very familiar with called FED, Foundation for Enterprise Development, which is the foundation that came out of SAIC, where you can get all this information, and it has a website.